Wild Nova podcast. I'm your host, Janine O'Brien. Join me as we explore holistic health for your body, mind, and spirit through inspiring interviews with experts and seekers. It's all about a balanced and fulfilling life. So let's dive in. Back. That is right. The Wild Nova podcast. Me, Janine O'Brien, is back. I had so many amazing people reaching out to me going, where the heck are my episodes? And honestly, like I've said before, I love doing this podcast. I love when I get into it and the people I get to meet and the impact that it seems to have on the in a positive way. I love it. But honestly, my capacity was maxed out. I have been trying to build up my business and work for myself full time, which includes my healing business, and also it includes the podcast. But the most important part of what all of that includes is wellness. Not just wellness, but my wellness. I was at such a low capacity. Basically, end of January, beginning of February, I was maxed out. I basically had nothing left. I was just going through some stuff that was kind of difficult and emotional for me. And then basically, I wanted to start getting back into in beginning of March. But then, of course, around the middle to end of March was pretty hard for me. So I've been really open, more so than I think most people, with kind of what happened to me last year. That was very difficult. And if you're not aware and you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. Hi. Happy to have you. Bit of a trigger warning. But basically what happened last year for me was around the end of March, I had my first ectopic pregnancy fully rupture. And I had a very rush me to the hospital and need to get into surgery right now kind of moment. That was really hard on me. And it was the first of two that happened last year. So last year was really tough. And I knew that coming up on the anniversary of what happened, I would have a hard time. I'm still working on getting all of the grief and the sadness of me. And I'm not saying that I won't ever completely grieve. I won't ever finish grieving that situation, ever. It was very hard on me and my relationship and my family and everybody around me and my friends. And yeah, it was a lot last year. And so coming anniversary, it was kind of a lot to take. When we have those big events happen in our lives, the anniversaries can be difficult, even when we choose to celebrate them or if we choose to ignore them. I purposely tried to kind of do a combination. I didn't want to dwell in it and lose myself in it again, because it was really hard, the depths of where I was last year. But to make sure that I still wasn't pushing down my emotions and ignoring them. So working through that has taken time. I yeah, that was only less than a month ago, basically. So then I started feeling a bit better, doing more of my self-care stuff that I do, um, working in the garden a lot, which has been really nice, like really nice, and growing all the seedlings and all of that, and killing a few seedlings. I may have forgotten to water them yesterday. Whoops. So, doing all of that and the grounding practices and everything, basically, even like 2 weeks ago, I wanted to get back on and start podcasting again. Part of it seemed kind of daunting at the time, because, again, my capacity was so low for March for everything. So then I was trying to just do self-care stuff for myself, get back into my yoga stretches and get back into pretending like I meditate all the time, which I try to, but let's be honest, I definitely do not meditate as much as I would like to. But that's kind of on my to-do list to kind of work towards a little bit more. And please remember that meditation, your brain doesn't have to go completely silent the entire time you meditate. Just a friendly reminder that your brain can go 100 miles per hour when you meditate. Sometimes that's the best way to process things. And also, what I find is, or what I found for myself, is that when I'm not doing so well, I use a lot of tactics to drown my mind out because it's a very busy mind. So I'll be on my phone, or I'll listen to music, or I'll listen to podcasts, and I'll do all this kind of stuff that just keeps noise, or like reading books or doing puzzles or anything that keeps my brain going. Because in those times, it stops it from running away. And that could be good and it could be. I was at a state where if I sat down to meditate, my brain went into a doomsday spiral. And the problem for silence in my life, for the good things, for the guidance from my spirit guides or yourself, or you want to believe in gods, God, beings, creatures, animals, nature, Mother Earth, anything. No space and silence for them to come in and help guide me out of the darkness. And the only reason there wasn't space for that was because I was afraid of the darkness, but I was in it. I definitely wasn't as deep as I have, but I had a lot of distraction tactics that I had going on. Yeah, so that's just a bit about what was kind of going on. I try to be pretty open on here and on social media and with people. Like, if you ever have questions that you want to ask me, go ahead and message me. I'm pretty much an open book, like 99%. I think everybody has one to just, it's personal, obviously. So, yeah. But the most important thing to me was I did want to get back to doing this. I really did. I enjoyed it. It was something that brought me joy. And I loved interviewing a lot of the people. I still have an interview that I did back in February that still hasn't been posted, with an amazing guest. And I'm so excited to post her episode next. We had a great talk. Part of the reason that it got delayed was nothing to do with her or what we discussed. It was solely to do with the fact that there was a glitch while I was uploading. And so it literally was taking me hours and hours and hours to edit and try and get that video back. And the system wasn't working. And it was very frustrating, to say the least. And editing was a pain in the butt. Yeah, it just, it was a pain. So getting back to the podcast meant dealing with something that was frustrating me. And all I wanted to do was come on and have fun and enjoy myself. But that's literally life. Life is dealing with the annoying, frustrating things to create something beautiful. So, on that note, I'm about, I don't know, 13 episodes-ish in, 12, 13, I don't know, lost count. And I'm gonna make changes. Yeah, I think that's the whole point of this, is to grow. For me to grow, for the podcast to grow, and for my listeners to grow. So, because with this podcast, honestly, having the programs that I need for video recording and editing and distribution and subscriptions and all of those things, honestly, this podcast cost me money. I definitely, as you guys know, right now, I don't make money from the podcast. I am hoping to at some point in time, just because this is a part of my job. This is a part of me. So, one thing I'm going to be opening up is basically on my website. I have so much stuff already. I have subscription services for like monthly and yearly subscriptions for sessions, for healing sessions and everything like that. I have a lot of services on there between Reiki and animal Reiki and crystal healing, distance sessions, everything. I am happy to, and I also now have sound healing sessions with Sandy McAfee available. So that is very exciting. But what I'm going to be adding is a few additional things to kind of help the podcast out. One is I'm going to be adding a blog page so that basically the transcriptions for the podcast will go on the blog along with other information randomly. I don't 100% everything I'm going to add because there's a lot in my head that I want to add. Also, with that, I am going to be adding a donation button onto the podcast tab in my website, wildnova.ca. I am going to have a button up at the top that will be either a one-time donation or a multiple donation options, just to kind of help me fund the podcast. It can be donations of your choice, all of that, because honestly, I was putting in a lot of hours. One, because I was just learning, but also I would like to get to the point where I don't have to have commercials and ads and all of that kind of stuff on the podcast. I would like to keep that off if I can. The best way I know how is to add a donation button, basically. This will make it so that instead of the podcast giving me a bunch of money every month, then I can break even, basically, so I can keep doing this and putting the time and effort into it. So yes, that will be added on there. Again, just on the podcast page, there should be a donation button. It'll go, I think, right before I post this episode. So that's that. Also, again, like I said, I was putting a lot of time into editing these episodes. I was doing recording 3-hour long episodes with my guests, and the long versions were going on video onto YouTube. And then the short edited versions were going onto the podcast platforms for audio version only. I liked having the different information on both. But seeing how much time it was taking me to go through and properly edit out a lot of chunks so it still sounded like a free-flowing conversation was a lot. So yeah, I cut down a bit and basically making it easier for myself by having the video and audio versions the exact same. That being said, if I do have an interview that I am just loving and we keep going, I'm gonna probably split it up into 2 parts because I'm aiming for the episodes to be close to an hour and a half kind of thing. I kind of like that length, I think. You never know. Some are longer, some are shorter. Who knows? But that's kind of my goal with the guests. So I'll be cutting those down. So again, YouTube will now be the same as the audio version. Might do little bonus things on YouTube every once in a while. I'm not sure about that yet. But that's a whole other part. So that will save me an insane amount of work, like an insane amount of work. And I'll just make it so much more enjoyable for me. So, like, I loved doing the interviews and I loved editing, but it kind of added some unneeded stress to the whole thing. And I'm trying to get it so that I can be reliable for you guys and I can show up. And I didn't feel good about not posting episodes for the last few weeks or couple months. I feel good about it. I didn't like that I had an episode waiting to be posted that I hadn't posted and that I radio silenced you guys and I didn't post anything about like, hey, I'm on a break or anything. I didn't feel good about that at all. And I don't know. I guess as somebody that like has dealt with a lot of the like abandonment issues and stuff, I felt like abandoning you guys without any communication and like ghosting you out. And I didn't mean to do that. It kind of just happened. And then it was one of those like snowball things where I felt bad that I hadn't communicated. And so then I didn't communicate because I felt bad about not communicating. As yeah, I didn't feel good about it. So I literally, like, I wasn't even originally planning on recording an episode today, but I finally hit my point where I'm like, you know what? Enough is enough. I don't 100% know what the topic of today is other than just getting back at it, getting back to life and getting back to the podcast and getting back to the things in my life that I love and that help support the people around me. I'm going to be adding every once in a while, I'm going to be adding more meditation episodes in and having it so that you can basically, like right now, one of the episodes I ended in a meditation and you can download it on the website. I'm going to be doing that for a few of them so that you guys will be able to, if you really liked the meditation, actually go and get it and download it so that whenever you want, you can listen to it. And I'll be trying to get a couple of the other, like the sound healing meditation that Sandy did on the 3rd episode. That one I'm going to try and get on there as well, because I know that one was really loved by everybody and it was really nice to share that. Yeah, I'll be working on updating, obviously, like the transcripts and all that from the other episodes. But I really just wanted to get back at this and be honest about why. It wasn't because I didn't like doing this. I was just maxed out. And oh my God, I have just been so enjoying like spring right now. Like I've put all my bird feeders out and the birds are just going crazy and I've been weeding and building garden boxes and planting all of these vegetables. And like usual, I have the tendency to kind of overdo. So I assumed, because it was my first year actually growing a whole bunch of vegetables myself, that when I went to germinate the seeds, I assumed, because a lot of them were expired and all of that, that only half of them would germinate. Yeah, no, like every seed I have planted so far this year, except for a couple, has germinated. And that's a problem. I planted like 3 times as much as I should have because I assumed I was gonna fail at it. So now I have so many seedlings and I can't put them out anywhere yet or deal with them yet because of frost. Um, yeah, so that's gonna be interesting. Gonna see how that goes because I now have like hundreds of seedlings everywhere in the house with grow lights on them, and it's work. I'm enjoying it and I love it, but I'm definitely going to enjoy when I can get them actually outside. And I still have a lot more seeds to start now that we're getting closer to the frost date. Um, yeah, yeah, it's been quite funny. And then, like, literally, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I don't know. I'm losing track of days. I think it was the day before. I decided to start harvesting my seedlings for my little sweet peas that I have started because you can put them out quite early. And I put them out and I was so excited. It was a warmer day, it was nice and sunny. And I came into my office to work for a little bit and was just going to put them out for 3 hours. And I looked out the window and it was hailing. And so I ran and I grabbed them. They're still good. They're actually surviving, thank God. Um, but it literally just reminded me of like life. It's like sunny and I'm gonna like grow and I'm gonna thrive, and then literally hail comes and beats you down. And it was like, damn it. Like it wasn't even supposed to rain today. How is there hail? In like, why? Why? God, and some people already have so much more planted outside, and I'm just so scared I'm gonna kill everything. I've put so much work into it. Um, yeah, so that's that. One of the things that I actually really, really wanted to do for this episode was I wanted to pull a oracle card, basically. Wanted to pull it for the week, just for everybody that's going to hear this episode, a little bit of guidance that they're needing right now. As many of you know, that know me, and for those who don't know me very well, I usually pull an oracle card or two. It can be totally different decks all the time. It's just, I probably have like 3 of them out on like my coffee table area, like my little ottoman. I usually have a couple decks around my desk. I have a mild obsession with getting different decks. But yeah, I wanted to pull a card from this deck. It's the Sacred Forest Oracle. It's one of my favorite decks, honestly. The art is incredible, the messages were uplifting, and I love it. So I'm just going to shuffle and pull a quick deck, a little bit of guidance for all of the listeners of the Wild Nova podcast that are listening right now. This one's beautiful. So, it's going to be hard to see with the brightness. Anyway, on the YouTube, you might kind of be able to see the picture of it. I guess it's super fuzzy. Anywho. All right, so I pulled a card, the Reflecting Pool, Stillness. And so I will just read what that one is about. In stillness, your power emerges. Tap into your inner sacred witness to discover the dwelling place in your soul. In profound peace and silence, you can discover the truth of your being. If you are in pain, go into the stillness until you find the source. Resist the temptation to indulge in feeling of overwhelm, urgency, and emergency. There is always a higher truth. Seek it out. Your soul loves what is real and honest. In quietude, the truth emerges. Most past the bustle and character of life into sweet stillness. Allow the chaos of the outer world to roll off your back the way water rolls off the back of a duck. Surrender to it. Seek solitude to hear the voice of spirit, and serenity will follow. The spirit of the reflecting pool says, in silence, you'll find the dwelling place of your soul. Take time to move into quietude, and you'll uncover a vast store of insight emerging within you. In ongoing situations, your life, hold back, take time before responding. So, I don't know about you, but I literally find that perfect, because that is exactly what I was just trying to explain with everything. I wasn't embracing the stillness and the quietness and the softness. I was avoiding it. And now trying to get back to that. So it's take that time still to quiet your mind, to meditate or not to meditate, just sit in silence without all of your outside distractions and see what comes up. Whether it's messages from spirit or a massive to-do list in your head, let it run. There is a reason it's coming up. Just let it out. And that is just literally a perfect card for what I was literally just talking about. Yeah. So it just means a lot to me to come back to this. And it means a lot to me, the amount of people that have been listening to the podcast and have been downloading and sharing and have, just done ratings on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Like, it helps so much. Like, it really, really does. It helps it get out there to more people that kind of need some of this stuff right now. And I'll try to continue to be as authentically, genuinely just me. And seeing as I have an Aquarius sun, being different and odd and a little peculiar, it's totally fine with me. That's just literally a part of me. And I would feel weird if being that way. Let me rephrase that. In the past, when I wasn't that way, it literally made me sick. It caused depression and anxiety and stress, and those are things, honestly, I've struggled with my entire life, on and off. And doing this journey has taught me so much. So now I have more coping skills and I have things I can do that help me, and I have triggers that I know to kind of help me realize when I'm being reactive. Yeah, I love all of that. And then, yeah, I'm trying very, very hard to read more. A lot of the times, my information that I study and I do, it's either reading online or, yeah, actually mostly reading online, and then videos, and I end up down crazy research things, but I rarely, I don't know, I rarely in the past, unless I needed to for a course, will pick up a book and just read it. So I'm trying to do that a lot more. So sometimes I'm going to want to come on the podcast and share different things, whether it's I have a really good poem book that I'm going through, and there was a really good poem that I might share another time. Or like this one book that I'm reading right now. I'm not going to say the title of the book yet, because honestly, I'm only a couple chapters in. And when I like to recommend something, I like to be very like obvious about the fact that like if I have or haven't read it, and I haven't decided if I really enjoy this book or not yet, to be honest. I'll do what it is. So it's called Dancing in a Quantum Dream by Alan Aslan Hart. So it's basically, it says, an 80-year journey of intuition, quiet miracles, teaching, and shamanic communications. So it's a super thin little book. It has taken me forever to try and read it. I got it from the library. It was just one that like jumped out at me when I went to get my first library card. That's how little I read. I literally walked into the library, looked at the girl, and I was like, okay, I need a library card. What do I do, and how does this whole thing work? Because before, if I needed one, I could just buy the book. And as a kid, I don't know, schools provided the books, or you get it from that library. I don't know. Anyway, so he does little poems and stuff like that in the book, as well as telling his story. And this one I really liked and I wanted to share. Again, I haven't read the whole book, so I don't know how it goes, and I haven't researched him, so I don't know anything about him, good or bad. Especially nowadays, I find like people write books and then like so many years later, all of a sudden we go back and go, oh, that person was a problem. I haven't read this book completely. I've read the beginning. I'm kind of enjoying it so far. I've learned a few things that I think me. But again, it's kind of like take a bit, leave a bit. And what I want to read to you, I feel, obviously, that's why I'm reading it, that it implies to everybody. Of course, like nowadays, we have multiple pronouns for multiple things. And in this, because he was writing kind of from his perspective, it's all in like he and his and all of that. Please just use your brain, ignore that, put in whatever pronoun you want, whatever pronoun you are, all of that. And when I say things in here, like part of it says, I don't know, his, yeah, you'll catch it, but oh, his true identity or something. I'm not gonna change his wording. I'm gonna read it how he wrote it, but just know when I say his, I also mean hers or theirs or anything. But yeah, I just found it. I love and hate that I feel like I need to say all of that before reading something. Like, I love honoring people in their journey and where they're at, but I hate that I feel like I can't just read something without maybe getting attacked, like online or in person or something like that, about like, well, you need to be more inclusive and stuff. It's like, I'm really an inclusive person. And I hate they have to fight so hard all of the time, and we can't just know that somebody is saying something out of the kindness of their heart, not to disclude anybody. So anyway, on my many topics of things to talk about, so I really wanted to read this, and part of the reason that I don't read very much is I am dyslexic. So if I misspeak or something, it's gonna happen. It's a book, it's a whole bunch of words, and I'm gonna be amazed if I can get through it without messing up a word or two. That's why I usually don't read while it's being recorded. All right. So it's called The Warrior of the Light. Who you are is a warrior of the light, a co-creator whose wisdom and power is one with the creator. This is your natural state of being. What you are is a human being that has forgotten who he is and is searching for his true identity. Beliefs urge you to do this or that. You focus on doing, and you accumulate deeds, accomplishments, things, control over others, and more. What? That hides the who under a mountain of doing. To find your natural freedom, you will have to let go of consistent doing and your belief in doing. Who you are does not depend upon what you have and what you do. Then you will find of who you are. So you can say to yourself, I am, oh my God, how do I pronounce that? Ogitchadog? I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry. In brackets it says a spiritual leader of the people. I cannot pronounce that. And continue. Even a tree has a subtle sense of awareness, a self-awareness. Imagine the courage it would take to live an entire life on the rim of a gorge. Each year, your roots will reach even deeper into the crack in the rock, searching for more nutrients and water. And each year, your roots widen the crack in the rock until one day your grip on life would be loosened and you plunge into the abyss. Is this a tragedy? Consider who you are and what of you would become food for the beetles, worms, and fungi. The what of you would recombine with all that is. Does the what of you disappear, or does it simply take a new form? Does the who of you disappear? Upon the death of the what? Who is? What only appears to be? Without what, who is? What has a beginning? So what has an end? Who is beginningless? So who never? Knowing this, you can live in freedom and joy. It takes courage to let go of the what, to live as though your what is simply an expression of who you are. Live joyfully here and knowing that what is whose playing field. Although what you are is birth and death without end, who is beyond all limitations. Yeah, so I loved that. And when I read it, obviously I resonated with it a lot. Because over the years, I've tried to remind myself that what I did as a job or what I did was not who I was. And I wanted to combine who I was with what I did and find that balance in my life. I worked a 9-to-5 office job. I got a lot done. I accomplished a lot. I was good at my job. I was there for a long time, but the hardest part for me was when I left that job and I spent time with my friends. I was two totally different people. And what I didn't feel good. I believe that things have energy. And working around a lot of alcohol has a lot of energy. And seeing what a lot of alcohol does to people when it comes to addictions and all of that, it holds that energy. And it's different. So I wanted to leave that job because of so many reasons. But I slowly started building my business on the side because I really wanted to combine what I did with who I was, who I authentically was, not who I could be, but who I am. And I think I've done that now. And I couldn't be like everybody. Like I've said many times, I'm growing, I'm expanding, I'm learning new things every day. Hey, now I'm reading. But it's learning to combine your who's and your what's. And it was just, I don't know. Just remembering that what you've done in the past doesn't make that who you are now. And who you are lives on forever. And if you believe in reincarnation and all of that, who you are is a part of who you've been in the past generations and years and lifetimes. And what you did then may trigger things in you and in your soul and your being now, but we can release that. We can let go of that. It doesn't have to be a part of you. I went through a larger trauma quite a few years ago now. And I know that they say that every cell in your body after 7 years is a totally new person. So as soon as I hit the 7 years of that, I loved knowing that the person who had that trauma happen to them no longer exists in a lot of ways. So not part of me, who I am now in my cells and my body, not a part of me had that happen to myself. And I like to think that I held on to the trauma of it for a long time. And every single year, less and less of my cells in my body are riddled with trauma. I like to try and let it go. And I know it's hard, like everything. It's difficult to let go of the things that you kind of make define you. Without the trauma, I I don't know where I would be. I know that some people believe that you would end up in the same place no matter what you did because it was fated or it was meant to be, but I do like feeling like I have choice. I like feeling like there are other versions of me that did make different choices and are living different lives. I like thinking of a version of Janine that is trauma free. Like, oh my God, that would be incredible. I don't know what she'd look like. I don't know what she'd be doing. Um, but it's just a nice thought. And if you can kind of tap into that version of yourself sometimes, it would be kind of nice. Yeah. So I guess this episode is just a little catch up and kind of a hey, how's it going? I'm back. I'm here. I'm working on it. And I do have interviews lined up with people that I'm really excited about. And I'm excited to share with you the episode that was recorded last time in like February now. Jeez. She was amazing. She was such a kind woman. I loved our interview. Um, and it just, yeah, it meant a lot to me. So I have to double check the time on that, but I might do a part one and a part two for that one because when I was going through and editing, that was one of the problems that I was having was I didn't want to edit what people were saying anymore. I want to be able to tell everything that they want to tell. I don't want to personally have to pick and choose what's shared on what platform. When it comes to the audio version, and I felt like you guys were missing out on so much of that was in the video version. It was like twice as long for some of the episodes. So yeah, I want to add some of that in. And honestly, some of it was just me babbling and going off on tangents that I cut out because I didn't I don't know. I didn't want to add all of my nonsense into the podcast, but that's the funny part is literally it's my podcast. I'm the host. I am the nonsense. Like that's kind of what makes it my podcast is my goofiness in a lot of ways and my random tangent stories that I have because I will always have them. And the fact that I start one subject line in my head and then divert to another one and loop back around sometimes or whatever. But yeah, I want to edit out what somebody is saying. I want to share it in its fullness. And I felt bad sometimes editing it out because I didn't want people to think that I edited it because I didn't like what they had to say. I edited it just for time wise. And I loved everything everybody had to say and share. And that's why it went on the YouTube fully uncut. Um, but yeah, so I'm going to work on that. And I'm going to not edit down for the audio anymore. You're getting all of the you're getting all of the random tangents that I have now. And I'm sure if you know me, you know there's going to be quite a few. Or if you watch the YouTube versions, there's quite a few. Yeah, it's just a part of who I am and a part of what I want to share. And other than that, yeah, I guess I don't really have much else to say. Yeah, I just hope everybody is enjoying the season. That's what I have to say. We've had so much crazy energies going on right now. Like, I have a hard time when everybody blames Mercury retrograde for absolutely everything, but it was like literally a God, the eclipse and the new year and like the astrological new year and the eclipse and a couple really strong full moons and a really strong new moon and like all of these astrological things going on. It was very intense for a lot of people. And I feel like we're finally shifting out of it. Like, I know my energy has shifted this week. Part of that is to do with like me actually prioritizing my wellness and going to see my lovely naturopath because she is, oh, she's heaven for me. Like, she just, I haven't gone in a very long time and I definitely needed to. But anyway, yeah, if there's anything you guys want more of or less of or anything like that, just send me a message. Please go and just join the Facebook page and Instagram groups. I don't know. I might set up a TikTok. I don't know. It's kind of technically up under the Wild Nova podcast, but I haven't posted anything. Just go subscribe to YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Like I said, just share with people. It means a lot to me. Also, if you want to know any updates to do with any events that I'm putting on, I usually do like full moon events, random meditations, and all of that about those. And you want to be up to date on the newsletter, just go to wildnova.ca. And there usually is a pop-up that comes up to subscribe to the newsletter, as well as I think you can subscribe at the bottom of the page if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, do that. If you add in your birthday, you end up getting like a little % off coupon code thing sent to you in the month of your birthday. So if you want to try out a session at all, I have sessions if you are not in town, as well as I do in person in Kelowna, British Columbia. Yeah, I would love to hear from everybody, and I'm excited to be back. And I haven't said I'm excited for a while, and all of the other episodes started with I'm excited or thrilled or whatever to add this person in. I'm just excited to be back with me right now. Yeah, I'm happy about it. I'm really enjoying it. And everything that it has to bring. So, until next time, I want to thank everybody for coming and listening and doing your part to share with everyone. And I can't wait for the next episode. I love you all. Have a great, great week, and I'll talk to you soon. If you found any resonance in today's discussion, don't forget to share, subscribe, and leave a review. Your engagement really means a lot to me. Connect with me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Wild Nova Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at info@wildnova.ca. And as always, visit my website for any additional resources at wildnova.ca. I'm your host, Janine O'Brien. Remember, the connection between your body, mind, and spirit is a journey worth embracing. So until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.